I chose to do project option number 2, and the 3 topics that I chose were analyzing a nonprofit organization's response to coronavirus. The second one was identifying a controversial issue in my community that happened in the past and then discussing the pros and cons of it. And the third one was researching a specific issue in my community and creating a public forum for it. So the first one, I focus on Gleaners Community Food Bank. They are a 501c3 organization based out of Detroit, and I volunteered multiple times for them throughout high school and college. Their mission is to provide families with access to nutritious and sufficient food and related resources. So Detroit's high levels of poverty and pre-existing health conditions make it one of the most rapid increasing COVID infection hotspots in the country. And before this pandemic hit, Detroit was already considered a food desert, so when unemployment happened and stores started shutting down, it only exacerbated this problem. So when this happened, many forces came together, such as community groups like Gleaners, hospitals, and the mayor, in order to try to distribute food as efficiently as possible. Gleaners has tripled the number of families that they serve at their Detroit distribution center, and they've also opened 6 other locations to reach as many possible families. They do operate 5 days a week with alternating Saturday events, and they rotate their menu just to ensure that all the families are getting enough nutritious food. So on average, when a family comes to these locations, they receive 36 pounds of food, which is equal to 30 adult meals, and they're already divvied up into household-sized portions. Because so many families are suffering from hunger, the demands are skyrocketing and donations are falling, because the stores, Meijer, Kroger, they have their own customers that they need to stock their shelves for. So they're just running out of things to donate. So food banks such as Gleaners are spending up to $100,000 a week in order to provide these meals to these families. Governor Whitmer also deployed the Michigan National Guard to assist the community, and help make quarantine boxes, and these are specifically tailored to senior citizens. They contain 22 well-balanced and high-protein meals. Gleaners was able to distribute 6.4 million pounds of food and 54,000 gallons of milk during the month of April. So at the end of this, I think it's clear to say that food banks are pretty much the unsaid heroes of these unprecedented times. They've served over 5,200 families that are facing food barriers, which is pretty remarkable. So moving on to the next one, I focused on the Riverview Land Preserve, which is a landfill that is in my community, and the issue at hand was the city was wanting to expand it, and the residents were against it. So the pros of expanding the landfill, it allows the city to provide services such as a fire station, police officers, as well as our community centers such as a library. It does generate revenue by increasing the lifespan of the landfill. It does serve up to 16 local communities as well as a few Canadian communities. It will keep the city's tax base lower, which makes the city attractive to potential home buyers. It is attached to a golf course, so if we were to expand the landfill, it would allow for a renovation of our golf course, which could potentially make the city more attractive. It would bring more visitors, and it would bring up the property value due to the golf course's more modern standard. And then next to that, there's a drain called the Frankenpoet Drain. The city says that it would be reconfigured, and would be considered a stream, which enhances the habitat. It would provide better drainage and would enhance the floodplain storage. And then the cons come from the residents. One of the cons is the construction. The city lists the construction lasting 8 to 10 years. That's not even considering the time it would take to get the permits to expand this landfill, which would take 1.5 to 2 years to get that. With construction comes noise, and they said on their website that it will be noisy, and that noise will last 8 to 10 years. And that's just crazy to the landfill's in the middle of neighborhoods too, so a lot of the residents aren't happy about that. The heavy trucks that are already coming through are destroying the roads. They do start coming in at 7 a.m., which is, the noise is just like the number one complaint. It does destroy the roads as well. There's so much trash there already. I've lived here my entire life, and when I was little, you could actually see the trees on the other side. Now it's up so high, you can't see anything on the other side of that hill. It does smell. It smells really bad, especially when the wind catches it and takes it over. It does smell pretty bad. And then there's just noisy seagulls all over the place. Other problems are that people were told that the landfill would have been shut down years ago, so that's why they bought their houses with the promise that it would be shut down, but yet they're trying to expand it and give it another 10 to 12 years of a lifespan. So my personal opinion is that the expansion shouldn't happen. I think it would just cause too much inconvenience to the residents. I know that it is about money for the city, and I do appreciate that and understand that, but I think for the residents that live here, I think it's just too much of an inconvenience. So the last problem I came to is still about the landfill. So it does offer on-site recycling, but Riverview as a whole does not offer curbside recycling to its residents, so I think that's a little bit strange that we have our own landfill, yet curbside recycling is not an option for us. So two sources, the Natural Resources Defense Council and the Environmental Defense, they're two completely separate entities, but they're very influential programs across the nation. They show that municipal recycling programs reduce pollution and the use of resources while reducing the amount of garbage in landfills, all for less than the cost of regular garbage pickup. And recycling doesn't double energy consumption. Also, it's said that if you were to implement a recycling program, a lot of the residents would think before throwing it away, they would think, do I really need to throw this away? Is there some way that I could use this around the house? And so on. On average, an American recycles 34% of their garbage, and between October 2015 and September 2016, Riverview Land Preserve had over 680 million pounds of waste, according to the Michigan government website. Recycling is not calculated into this because it is on site and is not accounted for. So if Americans recycle about 34% of the garbage, how much of this waste that was dumped between 2015 and 2016 could have been recycled if Riverview offered curbside recycling to its residents? So that's my question I would pose as my public forum. And my public forum would take place at city council meetings. They're monthly meetings that is televised to the city, so all of Riverview's residents could tune in if they wanted to. It's free of charge, and they could state their concern. So the most important thing to me would be for the council members to understand that recycling is not more expensive than garbage pickup, and it will also prolong the life of our landfill. I would bring in speakers, such as residents that are opposed to the expansion of the landfill. I would bring in a representative of the land preserve to give stats on the lifespan of the landfill and how recycling could benefit. I would also bring in an official from a neighboring city, a city that offers recycling, so that they could give stats on like the cost and what they save in recycling. And just the experience of running a citywide program. Lastly, I would bring in an EAGLE rep, which is Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. Their sole purpose is to focus on conservation and energy. I would collaborate with city council, health organizations, and local businesses, as well as teachers and neighbors. All of Riverview residents would be able to help out, as it is our own community that would be benefiting from recycling. It would be a low-budget forum. It would take place at City Hall. Each speaker would present ideas and points for about 5 minutes. I would start the forum off by presenting my concern and my stance to the council members, and then have each of the speakers follow up with their facts. The forum should last between 15 to 20 minutes. I would publicize the forum with Facebook alerts, emails and flyers in local businesses who support the idea. And evaluations would take place and would cover location, efficacy, guest speakers, if there were any logistic problems and how to avoid them, as well as taking a head count of how many people were at the monthly meeting and potentially revise a location. Thank you for watching.